The approach to the quiet gate. Do you remember that deep, soft sigh you took just a little while ago? The one that felt less like an exhalation and more like a gentle, almost hesitant turn. It's often the very first sign, isn't it? That moment when the day, with all its sharp edges and its constant demanding rhythm, finally loses its hold. The moment you decide, without saying a word, that the highway of noise must be exited. I remember that evening, that time when I first consciously felt the turn toward the archive. I hadn't known what to call it then, but the feeling was unmistakable. It was as if I was driving through a long, shadowed canyon, and suddenly my inner compass pointed me toward a side road, a barely visible, moss-covered track, promising only stillness. Think of the things we carry, not the literal bags or keys, but the soft, invisible load, the repeated conversations, the decisions rehearsed, the small metallic taste of regret, the cold anticipation of tomorrow's challenges. They pile up, don't they? Like pebbles gathered in a coat pocket, unnoticed until the weight starts subtly pulling the fabric down, altering our balance. And then comes the turn. You realize you are tired of the friction. You yearn for the velvet texture of peace. And as you make that inward choice, the world outside seems to dim, not with darkness, but with a loss of emphasis. The urgent becomes distant, the loud becomes a murmur. This first part of the journey is so much about recognition. It's recognizing the quiet signposts that the body always sets out for us. Perhaps your jaw loosens just a millimeter. Perhaps the tight band across your forehead releases its grip. Maybe your breath, which has been shallow, just skimming the top of your lungs all day, suddenly drops deeper, a slow descending anchor finding soft silt at the bottom of a quiet lake. And in that deepening breath, you see the gate. It's not grand or imposing, made of iron or cold stone. It's often just two ancient weathered posts carved from heartwood, draped with vines that carry tiny, silent, bell-shaped flowers. You don't need a key. There is no password. The gate recognizes the intention of your quiet sigh. It recognizes the weary traveler who simply wishes to lay down the pack. As you approach, the noise of the main road, the arguments, the deadlines, the anxieties, becomes less distinct, turning into the harmless, generalized hush of the distant sea. It reminds me of holding a seashell to my ear, hearing the echo of something vast, yet contained, and ultimately separate from the room I'm standing in. Do you feel it now? The air becoming slightly cooler, softer, carrying the faint, clean scent of damp earth and old, comforting silence. You are walking on soft moss now. No need for hurried footsteps. Take all the time you need for this approach. The archive is patient. It has been waiting for this moment, not with expectation, but with a deep, neutral willingness to receive whatever you bring. We are leaving behind the need to fix, the need to control, the need to analyze. We are simply arriving, letting the awareness of the quiet gate, the quiet possibility, become the only thing that matters right now. And with every step closer, you shed a layer of the day's hurried skin, feeling the true, soft contour of yourself begin to emerge beneath. The gate is just ahead, barely, visible in the deepening calm. Are you feeling that quiet space open up? Shall we take the next gentle step together and explore what lies beyond in the Library of Weightless Ink? The Library of Weightless Ink. The moment you step across the threshold, the most immediate shift is the light. It's not the stark, directional light of day, nor the total absence of night. It's a diffused amber glow, gentle as candlelight filtered through ancient, sun-warmed linen. It feels like stepping inside a memory of the perfect, cozy afternoon, warm, safe, and undisturbed. This is the central hall, the heart of the archive, a vast, circular room lined floor to ceiling with wooden shelves But instead of dusty, heavy volumes, you see only the soft, endless flutter of papers. This is the Library of Weightless Ink. What makes this space so profoundly calming is the simple, honest truth of its purpose. Nothing here is destroyed, nothing is judged. Worries are not annihilated. They are merely given a physical form so quiet and so light that they cease to exert gravitational pull on your spirit. Think about the heaviest worry you carried today. Maybe a small misunderstanding or a deadline that felt too close. When you held it in your mind, it had a certain density, didn't it? A sharp, metallic edge that demanded attention. But here, the process is simple transcription. You don't shout your worry. You simply allow the feeling, the thought, to be drawn out onto a sheet of paper thinner than onion skin, paper that feels almost like solidified mist. And the ink itself, it is truly weightless. It is composed of a gentle acknowledgement and the pale gold of the archive's ambient light. As I first stood there, watching my own concerns transcribe themselves, I noticed the fascinating effect. When a worry is given such delicate form, it loses its consequence. The fear that felt like a rock in my chest, once written in weightless ink, became a sheer, translucent veil fluttering near the ceiling. It's still there, yes, but it no longer requires my strength to hold it up. It is being held by the air, by the architecture of quietude itself. Look up now if you wish. See the beautiful slow dance of the archived concerns. They are moving with the slightest current of air, drifting like the pale remnants of fireflies on a summer night. They rustle, not with a frantic sound, but with the dry, soothing whisper of old, forgotten letters. It's an immensely comforting metaphor, isn't it? Our worries demand to be heard, and here they are, given a perfect form of expression, but a form so ethereal that their sheer magnitude is diminished. The fact of the worry remains documented, but the feeling of being crushed by it disappears. This process is what frees the soul. You are not trying to pretend the worry never existed. You are simply stating it clearly and then giving it to the air, allowing it to become part of the collective, unthreatening atmosphere of the archive. And notice the shelves. They are polished wood, radiating a quiet warmth. You can lean against them and feel the subtle vibration of hundreds of thousands of worries resting peacefully. They are silent neighbors now, sleeping safely in their light, transparent forms. They are taken care of. They are archived. And you, my friend, are now empty of their immediate weight. This library is a deep breath made visible. Feel the quiet space, opening up inside you where those burdens once lay. It is a vast, echoing room, ready to be filled, not with new fears, but with the soft, steady sound of your own peaceful heart returning to its natural rhythm. The Library of Weightless Ink has done its beautiful, silent work. Now, how are these papers cared for? Who tends to this vast silence? Do you want to meet the silent, non-judgmental forces that keep this place in perfect, gentle order? Let us move on to the Curators of Silence. The Curators of Silence. As the soft, translucent papers flutter gently into the air, you might wonder who tends to this infinite library. Who makes sure nothing ever crashes down, demanding your attention again? The beautiful truth I discovered here is that the archive is maintained not by busy hands or vigilant minds, but by the quiet, inherent grace of natural forces, the things within us that already know how to be still. These are the Curators of Silence. I first noticed them by the quality of the stillness itself. It wasn't the dead quiet of an empty room, but a living silence, deep, breathing, and organized. It felt like the kind of silence that exists inside an ancient forest, where every rustle is perfectly balanced by 1,000 years of rooted patience. One curator, I realized, was simply the deep breath. Not the quick, reactive gasp of anxiety, but the slow, descending breath that finds its way to the very bottom of the diaphragm. It is the steady, quiet rhythm that organizes all other thoughts. Whenever a floating worry starts to drift too close, threatening to land, the deep breath takes its unhurried cycle, and the current of air gently lifts the concern, guiding it back to the shelves where it belongs. It whispers, "You are documented, you are safe, you do not need to be acted upon now." Another curator is the ancient stone. Look closely at the floor and the subtle mossy foundation of this room. These are the stones of your earliest, most reliable memories, the feel of comfort, the recognition of safety, the simple truth of being held. This curator represents unmoving stability. It reminds you that the chaos of the day is only a surface disturbance, and that the core of you, the part that always endures, remains solid, warm, and utterly unshakable beneath everything. The worries can spin overhead, but they can never touch the ground where you stand. And perhaps the most delicate curator is the quiet memory. This is not a memory of a grand triumph, but the recollection of a soft, simple moment of pure peace. The way the light fell through a window on a lazy morning, the scent of rain on warm pavement, or the perfect, weightless feeling of floating in still water. These memories are non-judgmental because they are only concerned with presence. They don't analyze your current worries. They simply provide a gentle, atmospheric counter-truth. This peace is possible. You know how to be here. The curators don't solve your problems, dear one. That's not their task. Their task is to hold the space for your problems to rest without needing your attention. They show us that letting go is not an action of struggle, but an act of trusting the quiet, inherent grace that already exists within us. Do you feel that shift? The understanding that you don't have to force the worries away. You simply need to trust that your own deep breath, your own quiet core, and your own peaceful memories are already working right now to keep the archive in perfect, soft, and silent order. We are safe here. We are supported by the very fabric of our quiet nature. Now that we understand who is keeping watch, we can look at the specific burdens we often carry. Shall we turn our attention now to the future and find the shelf for tomorrow's weather? The shelf for tomorrow's weather. The vast majority of the papers floating in the archive are transcriptions of things that have already happened. Words said, choices made, events concluded, but there is a special section, often slightly shimmering with a pale, uncertain light, dedicated entirely to the burdens that haven't yet been born, the hypotheticals. This is the shelf for tomorrow's weather. Think of how often we stand under a perfectly clear sky today, yet feel drenched by the anticipated downpour of the future. We spend precious current energy trying to forecast storms that may never gather, preparing shields for battles that may shift form entirely before dawn. I remember when I first approached this shelf. It was filled with labels like, "What if I forget what I need to say?" Or, "What if the timing is wrong next week?" Or, "What if they judge me for something I haven't even done yet?" These worries are unique because they are fundamentally unmoored. They are pure projection, relying entirely on our imagination to give them weight. And here, in the archive, the work is simply to recognize the nature of their substance. They are echoes, not facts. When you allow a future worry to be written in the weightless ink and placed upon this shelf, the transcription process is slightly different. Instead of documenting an event, it documents a possibility. And that single word, possibility, is what neutralizes it. A possibility, by its very nature, is non-committal. It means just as much could happen as will not happen. Here, the archive gently reminds us that if we carry the burden of every possible negative outcome, we must logically also carry the burden of every possible positive outcome, which would create a chaotic, unusable kind of energy. The wisdom of this shelf is to simply state the projected fear, assign it the label of future hypothesis, and let it rest. This is the place to realize that worrying about the future is like trying to pay a debt that hasn't been invoiced yet. It pulls resources, your peace, your present attention, your quiet energy out of the now and deposits them into a bank account that might not even exist tomorrow. As you look at the pale script on the shelf, you can almost hear the soft rhetorical question hanging in the quiet air. If I cannot affect this worry right now, why should I allow it to affect me? The shelf for tomorrow's weather teaches us the profound piece of the incomplete story. We are only ever in chapter 1 of tomorrow. We are only ever in the current line. By archiving the anticipation of the difficulty, we restore the energy needed to actually meet the difficulty, should it ever arrive. We put the potential storm cloud on the shelf, leaving only the clear sky of the present moment available to us. Feel the quiet lightness that comes with separating the projected fear from the solid ground you stand on. The future, even the difficult parts, is allowed to wait patiently in its proper place, safely contained until it becomes the present. And when it is the present, you will be here, rested and clear, ready to meet it without the added fatigue of having worried about it yesterday. This is a beautiful freedom, isn't it? To trust that the self who is present tomorrow will be fully equipped to handle tomorrow's weather without today's interference. We've cleared away the large atmospheric concerns, but sometimes it's the smallest things that cling the hardest. Are you ready to address the tiny, persistent worry that often gets overlooked as we move toward the smallest worry? The smallest worry. We often think the heaviest burdens are the biggest ones, the major deadlines, the relational dramas. Yet sometimes the smallest worry is the most persistent, the one that clings to the hem of your garment like a tiny burr-covered seed, refusing to let go. I call this the sleeve clinger. It's the recurring micro-doubt. Did I lock the door? Even though I always do. Was that email tone slightly too abrupt? Even though I edited it 3 times. It's the small, dull hum of anxiety that doesn't threaten to capsize the ship, but simply prevents the sails from hanging truly slack. It is familiar, it is habitual, and because it is so small, so constant, we rarely give it the dignity of a formal archiving process. We try to flick it away, or argue with it, or dismiss it with a rushed internal shout. But because we haven't genuinely acknowledged it, it keeps returning, tapping lightly on the edges of our consciousness, demanding to be recognized. When I finally realized the need to honor these small concerns, the archive showed me a special vessel. It was not a grand scroll, but a small, smooth bowl made of dark, cool clay. The process here is immensely tender. You must not be impatient with the sleeve clinger. Instead, you hold it up gently, like a very small, confused insect. You whisper to it, "Oh, there you are again, my dear persistent friend, I see you." The reason these worries cling is often because they feel unheard in their smallness. They feel overlooked by the grand narrative of the day. So, in this quiet spot, you give it full attention for one unhurried moment. You allow the image of the locked door, the soft rereading of the email, the confirmation of the simple truth. And then, without judgment, you tenderly place the thought, the entire tiny bundle of low-grade static, into the smooth clay bowl. As soon as it touches the clay, the worry doesn't dissolve violently or disappear with a pop. Instead, it exhales, it shrinks. It becomes a small, dark, smooth stone, not heavy, but perfectly contained. It is no longer an active signal demanding your attention. It is a documented stillness. And the beauty of this release is the intimacy of it. It's a moment of deep self-compassion, recognizing that the part of you that worries, even in miniature, deserves a peaceful place to rest. By gently putting the stone in the bowl, you are telling yourself, This little part of my mind has fulfilled its duty by alerting me. Now it may rest, knowing it is seen and safe. Feel the space that opens up when that continuous low-level buzz finally stops. It is like turning off a small, malfunctioning fan that has been running in the corner of a peaceful room all evening. Suddenly, the silence is not just quiet, it is deep and uninterrupted. This is the freedom from the familiar burden, the quiet victory over the chronic whisper. The smallest worries need the softest touch to finally achieve stillness. We've cleared the past, the future, and the tiny clingers. Now, what does the archive feel like once all the papers are resting? Are you ready to move into the deep, quiet atmosphere of the scent of pure absence? The scent of pure absence. As you turn away from the shelves, having left behind the transcripts of your day, your future, and your small, persistent anxieties, you might expect the room to feel empty. But the quietude of the archive is never a vacuum. It is, instead, a profound, rich presence. This presence has a sensory signature, a feeling that washes over you like warm, still water. The scent of pure absence. What does absence smell like? It doesn't smell like nothing. It smells like everything that is not noise, not demand, not pressure. It is the scent of relief made atmospheric. I remember standing there, and the first note was the cool, crisp scent of clean, in paper, not the ink, but the paper itself untouched, ready for gentle truths, not worries. This is the scent of potential, the sense that the slate is not just wiped clean, but waiting patiently. It's the feeling of a quiet morning before the sunrise, when the world is still holding its breath. Then comes the deep, soft aroma of old cedar and polished stone. This is the smell of things that endure, things that have witnessed countless cycles of worry and release, yet remain fundamentally steady. It's the grounding aroma that tells your nervous system, you are solid, this place is safe, time passes, and yet the core of peace remains. This scent is the assurance that your steady nature is the true architecture of the world. And beneath these, subtle and profound, is the scent of soft rain falling on dry earth, that beautiful earthy aroma called petrichor. It is the scent of completion and nourishment. Worry is dry and brittle. It cracks and demands water. But here, the spirit is gently saturated and replenished by the natural, nourishing rhythm of letting go. It's the feeling that a long, hidden thirst has finally been quenched. This entire atmosphere is the feeling of your unburdened presence. The space where the tight, urgent thoughts used to reside is now vast, open, and simply you. You are no longer defined by what you are carrying. You are defined only by your own quiet, steady light. In this deep, sensory experience, there is a gentle rhetorical query that surfaces. How much of my daily experience is dictated by things that are not actually here right now? And the answer, floating on the scent of pure absence, is simply none. You are here. You are whole. You are resting in the clean, deep fragrance of what remains when all static is removed. It is the scent of your own, perfectly quiet mind. This deep rest is what allows for the next step. Not another action of release, but the act of reorientation. We must remember how to find our way back to the heart of ourselves, now that the path is clear. Do you feel that calm, pure air filling the space where the stress used to be? Shall we now follow this feeling outward, back toward the map? Back to the heartwood. The map back to the heartwood. We have reached that glorious point of stillness, where the scent of absence defines the space. But the archive is not meant to be a permanent home. It is a sanctuary. A place we visit to lighten the load so that we can better navigate the journey of living. Now, as you look around the silent room, The curators, the deep breath, the ancient stone, don't hold you in place. They gently nudge you toward the exit. They remind you that the real reward of archiving the worries is the reorientation of the self. Think of your true self, your steady core, as the heartwood of an ancient strong tree. All the daily anxieties, the rushing thoughts, the external demands, these were the frantic branches swaying in a storm, making it hard to feel the deep, steady root. The archive was the process of pruning away the frantic swaying. And now, with the clutter gone, you discover the map back to the heartwood. This map isn't drawn on parchment. It is drawn in the newly available quiet space of your own body. It is the recognition that the way back to your essential self is not complicated or distant. It is simply a matter of listening to what is steady rather than reacting to what is fleeting. What does this map look like? It is the warmth that settles in the center of your chest when your shoulders relax. It is the slow, unhurried pulse in your wrists, a rhythm that was there all along, unnoticed beneath the surface static. It is the gentle, neutral weight of your body against the cushion or the bed, the simple, undeniable fact of your presence being grounded in this very moment. The map, back to the heartwood, teaches us that peace is not an achievement. It is a return to baseline. The journey is about recognizing that your fundamental state is calm, and all the worries were simply external decorations that momentarily obscured that truth. I remember the profound sense of liberation that came with realizing this. It was realizing that I was not broken. I was just carrying too many things that belonged elsewhere. Once the worries were archived, the path was instantly clear. It was the simple, unobstructed line from your awareness back to the reliable, ancient strength at your core. This map requires only gentle attention, not forceful effort. It asks you to notice the steady, quiet hum of life that continues even when the mind has stopped its frantic chatter. It invites you to lean into the simple, honest truth of your own enduring strength. You are not leaving the archive feeling empty. You are leaving feeling clear and aligned, ready to carry only the essential compass, the wisdom of your heartwood, into the soft transition to rest. The path is open, gentle, and leads right back to the warmth of your own being. We have gathered the map. The worries are sleeping. Now only one final soft act remains. Are you ready for the final gentle moment of sealing the door as we approach the closing of the brass latch? The closing of the brass latch now. Turn toward the exit of the archive. The soft, amber light seems to embrace you, offering a deep, lingering farewell of peace. You don't need to look back, because everything that required your urgent attention is now safely contained. The Curators of Silence are watching over it all. As you step through the doorway, the gentle threshold leading from the deep stillness back to the quiet of your resting place, you approach the final symbolic act, the closing of the brass latch. It's a simple door, the one you entered earlier. Not thick or fortified, because containment here is achieved by intention, not resistance. The latch itself is old, smooth brass, worn by the hands of countless quiet travelers who have come here before you. It is cool beneath your fingers. This final moment is not about locking the door with force. It's about sealing the separation between the duties of the day and the necessity of deep rest. It is a gesture of profound trust. You are trusting that the archive is capable of holding the burdens without your constant vigilance. As you gently press the latch into its housing, listen to the sound it makes. It is not a harsh metallic clank. It is a soft, satisfying click, a quiet finality. It sounds like the moment your own mind shifts from the mode of doing to the mode of being. Feel the quiet warmth spreading from your hand and through your arm. This is the understanding that your work is genuinely done for the day. You have processed, you have released, and you have documented everything that needs to rest. The worries are sleeping now. They have been given their lightweight, translucent forms, and they are sleeping soundly on the high, quiet shelves. They are safe. They are waiting patiently for the light of tomorrow, and they do not need you to keep vigil over them tonight. This realization is the key to deep restorative sleep. The things that occupy my mind are taken care of, and I am free to rest. Look into the stillness one last time. Notice the shadows of the archive receding gently, becoming soft, deep, indigo. Now turn fully away. You are carrying nothing back with you but the scent of pure absence and the map back to the heartwood. Feel your body settle into the comforting, familiar quiet of your own space. With the sound of that brass latch fading gently in your memory, every muscle relaxes its hold. Your eyelids feel heavy and soft. The rhythm of your breathing is now the only sound that truly matters. Slow, steady, deep, and utterly peaceful. You are drifting now, my dear one. The archive of forgotten worries is secure. You are home, resting in your own steady heartwood. Sleep is welcoming you in, like a soft, dark velvet. Let yourself fall into the certainty that all is well, all is quiet, and you are profoundly safe. Sleep now. Rest deeply. Good night.